The weight of silk and stone, a princess of Aragon. You are not dreaming of knights, you never have. At 13, you know better than to trust stories that end with a kiss and a crown. You've seen what crowns cost. Your mother wore one until the fever took her after your youngest brother's birth. The midwives whispered it was the third child in as many years that broke her. The court called it God's will. You called it murder by expectation. Now, in the spring of 1267, you, Infanta Eleanor of Aragon, wake not to birdsong, but to the clatter of hooves in the courtyard below. Your chamber in the Aljaferia Palace is cool, even in May, the thick stone walls holding the night's chill like a secret. The scent of orange blossoms drifts through the open mirador, a luxury your northern cousins in England would envy. But comfort is not freedom, and you have none. Alteza, murmurs Constanza, your duenna, already kneeling by the brazier, coaxing embers back to life. The emissaries from Castile arrived before dawn. Your stomach drops. Castile, not France, not England, but close enough to matter. King Alfonso X the Learned, they call him, has long sought your hand for his second son, Fernando. A union to bind two thrones against the ever-present threat of Granada, and against each other, if truth be told. You sit up slowly, the silk sheets whispering against your skin. Unlike the straw pallets of northern castles, your bed is layered with fine linens and stuffed with wool, yet it offers no warmth for the cold certainty settling in your chest. You are not a girl. You are a treaty with a heartbeat. Constanza helps you into your tunica, the linen shift that will be your only clean layer for the day. Over it comes the saya, deep crimson wool dyed with Kermes insects, a color that costs more than a peasant's life. Then the manto, heavy with gold thread, its clasp shaped like your family's double-headed eagle. Your hair, thick and dark like your father's, is braided tightly and pinned beneath a sheer toca of gauze. No veils like the English nuns. Here, in Al-Andalus-influenced Aragon, beauty is not hidden, it is weaponized. Your father expects you in the Hall of Ambassadors after prime, Constanza says, brushing a stray thread from your sleeve. Her eyes, lined with years of service, hold a question she dares not ask. Are you ready? You are not. But readiness is irrelevant. The palace corridors are alive with the morning's purpose. Servants carry trays of almond milk and honeyed figs. Scribes rush with wax-sealed letters. Guards in lamellar armor stand like statues, their faces unreadable beneath conical helmets. You pass the library, your sanctuary, its shelves lined with Arabic, Hebrew, and Latin text your father collects like jewels. You pause, just for a breath. Inside, a monk copies Ptolemy's Almagest. You wish you were him, invisible, useful for your mind, not your womb. The Hall of Ambassadors is bathed in golden light from high Agemus's Moorish arches that frame the sky like promises. Your father, King Jaime I the Conqueror, sits on a cedar throne inlaid with ivory. At 58, his beard is more silver than black, but his eyes still burn with the fire that took Valencia from the Moors. Beside him stands the Castilian delegation, stern men in dark wool, their cloaks pinned with the Lion of Leon, and there slightly behind them, a boy, Fernando of Castile, 17, slender, pale, with hands that look too soft for a sword. He meets your gaze for only a heartbeat before bowing, but in that glance you see something unexpected. Dread. Not lust, not pride, dread. Your father rises. Infanta Eleanor, he announces, as if introducing a new warhorse. Behold your future husband, Don Fernando, son of the King of Castile and Leon. Fernando steps forward. I am honored, he says in careful Catalan, his accent thick but earnest. You curtsy. The honor is mine, my lord. Lies, all of it. But lies are the mortar of diplomacy. Later, in the garden of myrtles and pomegranates, Constanza brings you a cup of Horchata tiger nut milk, sweet and cool. He looked at you, she says quietly. Not your jewels, not your gown, you. Perhaps he was counting my teeth, you reply bitterly, to see if I'm fit for breeding. But Constanza shakes her head. No, he saw a person. That is rare. The betrothal is sealed within the week. No proxy. No delay. Alfonso X wants his alliance before the summer heat makes travel impossible, and before your father changes his mind. Your dowry includes the border towns of Teruel and Daroca. In return, Castile grants Aragon access to the silver mines of Almaden. You are worth more than land. You are worth metal. Your days become a blur of preparation. You learn Castilian customs, how their ladies sit with spines straight as lances, how they embroider saints with eyes that weep pearls. You practice their dances, stiff and formal, compared to the fluid Zambra of the Moorish women who still serve in your kitchens. You memorize the lineage of every noble house from Borges to Seville, and you read furtively medical texts on childbirth, on herbs that ease labor, on how to recognize the signs of childbed fever. One evening, as you walk the ramparts overlooking the Ebro River, Fernando finds you. I did not ask for this, he says without preamble. The sun is setting, painting the sky in the same crimson as your wedding saya. Nor did I, you reply. He looks at you, really looks. They say you read philosophy. They say many things, you say. Some are true. He smiles just a flicker. My father thinks books make men weak, but I think they make them less alone. You say nothing, but for the first time, the weight on your chest shifts. Not lighter, just different. The wedding is held in the royal monastery of Santa Maria de Sigena. You wear white not for purity, but because it is the color of queens in Aragon. Your veil is stitched with verses from the Cantigas de Santa Maria, Alfonso's own hymns to the Virgin. Fernando's hand is cold when you clasp it. The bishop speaks in Latin. The rings are exchanged. The crowd cheers. You are wife. You are property. You are hope. The journey to Castile is long. You ride side saddle through mountains still dusted with snow, past villages where children stare at your train like you're a ghost. Fernando rides beside you, often silent, but always present. Sometimes he points out a hawk circling overhead. Sometimes he recites poetry by Ibn Zaydin. You begin to see him not as a prince, but as a boy who loves stars and hates hunting. In Toledo, the royal palace is colder than Zaragoza. The walls are bare of tapestries. The floors echo. The court watches you like hawks. The Aragonese fox, they whisper. She'll steal the king's secrets for her father, but Fernando defends you, quietly, consistently. She is my wife, he tells them. And she is wise. Months pass. Winter comes. You fall ill with a cough that rattles your ribs. Fernando sits by your bed for 3 nights, reading Avicenna aloud while the fire spits embers. When you recover, you find a small astrolabe on your pillow, a gift from his personal collection. Then, in the first warmth of spring, your courses cease. The court rejoices. Fernando looks terrified. When the pains come in late autumn, they are worse than you imagined. You scream in the birthing chamber, surrounded by women who chant songs and burn rosemary to ward off evil spirits. Fernando paces outside, forbidden entry, but you hear his voice through the door. Hold on, Eleanor. Hold on, and you do. When they place your daughter in your arms, tiny, furious, perfect, you weep, not from pain, from awe. She has your eyes, Fernando whispers finally aloud inside, his face pale with exhaustion and wonder. You name her Beatrice after your mother. In the months that follow, something shifts. Fernando begins to bring you scrolls from his father's library. You discuss Aristotle's ethics over spiced wine. You correct his Arabic pronunciation. He teaches you Castilian proverbs. You are not lovers in the troubadour sense, but you are allies, partners, two souls navigating the same gilded cage. One evening, as you nurse Beatrice by the fire, Fernando says, I want to build a school for girls in Salamanca. Will you help me? You look at him, really look, and see not a prince, but a man who sees you. Yes, you say. And for the first time, your yes is not duty. It is choice. You will never be free, but within the walls of expectation, you plant a garden, and in its shade your daughter will one day read not just psalms, but poetry, philosophy, possibility. That is not a fairy tale. It is something better, a life reclaimed stitch by stitch, word by word, breath by breath.